What is up, guys? Speed here, and I am ecstatic today to tell you that Storm Spirit might just be back. And for good reason, right? He received a buff in the recent patch. His static remnant is now only 70 mana at level 1, which is a huge deal because it means that you can spam them in the lane and actually secure CS. Unlike the other Storm, who had mana problems in the early game, mana problems in the mid game, and mana problems in the late game. Well, I'm here today to tell you that is no longer the case. Actually, the hero is probably still not that good. But who knows? Maybe it's a little bit better than it was last patch, and we're going to talk about how CCNC, aka not last pick, makes this hero work. I'm going to speed through the laning stage. Just what you want to note is that it is very important now that the mana cost on Remnant is better to spam it for CS, especially in the first wave. You want to avoid getting denied as much as possible, as you'll notice he did there. And what this does is it puts you at a level advantage, or at least not a level disadvantage, which allows you to push out other waves with more points in Remnant and Overload. Just in general, do not save your mana. In this game in particular, he did have a Crystal Maiden, so he can even be a little bit more free with his mana. But the point is, if you're in a hard matchup against like a TA or a Kunkka, who have a lot of deny potential, you have to, more than other matchups, use Remnants as much as possible. And talking about that, I want to propose something briefly about a potential Storm build that I think could work very well with this new changes. And that build is going for 1 Mantle of Intelligence and 1 Iron Branch. He already ate his Iron Branch, but the point of this build is that it leaves you with a very, very large amount of gold. And with the Bounty Runes, you'll be only a few CS from bottle. And due to the mana cost of Static Remnant, you'll be able to spam these and secure every single last hit with Static Remnant, therefore getting you off to a good start. In addition, you'll have mana to push out the wave previous to the 2-minute mark, and because of that, you can easily get the Bounty Rune, the Power Rune, as long as you have a ward. So, other than what I just talked about, the laning stage for Storm is about the same. I already watched a lot of this replay, and for what I want to say is, what he did very well this game, and what we'll take a look at, is his ability to keep his CS up and keep his farm up while still making plays around the map. And I'm going to go very much into depth about how you have to play heroes like Storm in order to maximize efficiency, or at least get the most out of what the hero provides, which is not too great after the changes. However, it is getting better. So in this upcoming clip, I just want to point this out because I think it is very, very important, is that when you are low HP and you're a bottle hero, you must go get the Bounty Runes. Like, don't worry too much about CS. If you're going to end up dying because of it, or just not get the Bounty Rune as a result, you really want to get over there and pick them up. Having bottle charges is crucial on Storm Spirit. Absolutely crucial. So you need to make sure your first priority is to get Bounty Runes, especially when you're low and out of charges, as he did there. He did sacrifice some CS because of it, but he can jungle back the gold. So in this upcoming clip, CCNC just acquired a Arcane Rune, and I want to make it clear that this is the first time he is rotating, right? He rotates when there is a clear reason for him to rotate, right? He has an Arcane Rune, therefore his gank is more effective, and it doesn't cost him all of his mana pool, because a main problem with Storm, and a large problem that caused the hero to be unpopular, was the fact that when you ganked, you would burn your entire mana pool and then essentially couldn't farm. But as a result of this Arcane Rune, he is able to gank. I believe if he didn't get this rune, he would not have rotated. So what I'm saying is, unless you get a DD or a haste or a Arcane Rune, avoid ganking and just farm up until you get enough mana where it's actually reasonable for you to gank. Because in the early game, you simply don't have the sustain in order to make ganks worth your time. Okay, so what you see on your screen now is CCNC coming up on a Doom. The Doom does not see him, I believe. Let me just double check. So the Doom is on the low ground, right? And CCNC sees him. Let's pay very close attention on how he executes this kill. First off, he gets to hit with Overload, and that slows. And you will notice that his first reaction is not to zip onto the Doom, because Doom cannot see him. He manages to walk up, right? This is playing to your vision advantage. As a result, he's able to get a Remnant off and get big damage. Then, let's know where he zips next. He zips slightly in front. I even think that zip could have been a little bit more in front, but I think what he's trying to avoid is overcommitting. Very, very clear calculations there. We're going to watch that one more time very quickly, just because Kills like this are often a complete waste of mana if you don't do them perfectly. So you notice once again, he clicks a little bit in front of him. You always want to click a little bit in front of who you're zipping on. That's the best way, right? Here he doesn't, only because he's in kill range. But otherwise, you're clicking a little bit in front of them, typically so you can get another static remnant off. There, I guess he had the perfect calculation somehow. I guess that's why he is a professional player, but typically what I would recommend is you zip slightly in front so that you can get your remnants off. So now it's the 9:44 minute mark. CCNC has done a good job after that Doom kill, just farming up, not playing too aggressive, right? When you're Storm Spirit, after you get a kill, typically your first reaction is to look for shrines and just farm the jungle. So that's what he does until this point in which the 10-minute bounty runes are coming. And it is very important as a Storm Spirit, as we mentioned previously, with no bottle charges, to come over and assist, right? Not only does it help him assist with the bounty runes and get bottle charges, but it also prevents his team from dying or getting overwhelmed. You notice he shows up, and it nearly gets him a kill, but Kunkka's just a naturally tanky hero, so he kind of has to disengage, and hopefully this is not the only thing you notice out of this clip, but I don't want to distract you from the action going on, but if you look at his item build, I don't even know what to think. Dota has officially come to the point where Midas is just the best item. It's just that good that a professional player would consider buying Hand of Midas on Storm Spirit. I really never thought this day would come. I honestly think this is the death of Dota. In a few days, I wouldn't be surprised if Steam shuts down the game because a Storm Spirit, a notable Storm Spirit at that, has bought Hand of Midas. Now, what do I think of this? I don't know what to think of this, to be honest. I don't know if this is good. However, what I can tell you is that the main problem with Storm Spirit and a lot of Storm Spirit players is that they will spend too much time killing instead of farming when the hero needs a nice balance, as he has shown. So the one thing I can say that I really do like about it is that it sets a nice tempo when your Hand of Midas is coming up that you want to be jungling, right? It at least makes this natural farming tempo that I think is really beneficial for a lot of players, and a reason why I think Midas is one of the best solo queue items. It just naturally allows you to stay in the game when players' farming patterns aren't particularly good. So for that, I kind of like it. However, it's still really weird. But I guess that's the point to which Dota has come. So take what you want out of this. I'm really not in the position to say if I think this is great or not, but time will tell, I guess. Before I move on past item builds, I want to note that he picks up Arcane Boots, and he does have 2 Null Talismans. It's not something I mentioned earlier, and I just want to point it out. But he does have Arcane Boots now, which is interesting. However, he does get 40 attack speed from the Midas, as we can check. And so he doesn't lose that from not buying Power Treads, and as a result, he still has a fair amount of DPS. What I want to say about this game is that CCNC is clearly experimenting to some sort. I don't think this is something very normal, like just the build he's going in general. As he is going like Mana Boots, Kaya, Hand of Midas, this build in my opinion looks like some 3k build. However, there is some viability behind it, only simply because of the buffs to Midas. It did recently get nerfed, but not really to an extent that phases out the item. And the tempo that your hero wants to play at. I also want to note that his Lifestealer is doing super well, and as a result, you can see the impact of his rotations, right? He killed the Coddle and put a little bit of pressure on the bottom lane. Not to say that the Lifestealer wasn't doing well already, he definitely was. But that's just go to note that helping your side lanes can be really effective on a hero like Storm. But just want to clarify again, only if you get an active rune. I'd really avoid it otherwise. So there's a fight going on right now, and I don't really want to look at the mechanics of this fight as it's just a skirmish. However, what you will see is kind of a pseudo synergy that I think is really nice, and if Storm Spirit becomes popular, in addition with the popularity of Lifestealer, I think it's a really nice dual core, simply because Storm Spirit enables Lifestealer very hard. It is one of the best infest bombs in the game. Obviously here it's kind of like a mini example, definitely not like some great example of it. However, What is to note is that you are just a great vehicle for lifestealer, so I think this combo of heroes is something that you might want to try in your pubs as well. So now is a high ground push coming out from his team. They are now 14k ahead, so I just want to show how you can kind of play Storm when your team has an advantage. And at this point in the game, right, he's very, very strong. He has 20 Bloodstone charges, and I know this is a big skip. Pretty much what I want to say about the last, like, 20 or 15 minutes or so of his game, as you can tell, he's only 4-3, right? Storm Spirit is a hero that just struggles early for the most part, unless you get off to some insane start. So what I would say is typically you just want to farm until you can hit your like Bloodstone Kaya timing. Fighting before this is just super risky. So overall, just try to farm up your items. I guess by hand of Midas if you're a psychopath, and then then take fights like this. So what we're going to first note is that you don't always want to jump on the initiated target. In fact, this is often very bad because you'll get hit by AoE spells or just get red. Poor CM. But you notice here he's looking for a clear target. He has to kind of wait out BKBs because he can't afford to get hit by the PA, right? And this is something that a lot of players just can't do. They can't be patient. But patient in this game is very needed. As you can see, he nearly just dies straight up to a PA crit. And as a result, sometimes you just can't make big plays in a fight, right? There are fights and situations in Dota in which you can't make big plays. However, here, he is going to try to save his lifestealer, but you can really see the problem of Storm. He just doesn't have mana, or enough mana to make plays nowadays. But once again, you're conserving your mana and you're not jumping around like a madman. When you're playing Storm Spirit, you have to have a clear target previous to the fight. If you try to play Storm Spirit and look into a fight and take a fight without knowing who you should jump, you're going to run out of mana and most likely feed unless you're 15 to 20k ahead. Obviously, even this game is 15 to 20k ahead, but if we look at the net worth, it's just because like the Doom has much less than he should. And the lifestealer is like wildly out of hand. But what my main point is, you have to know who you are going to jump before you jump in the fight. Obviously, there are situations in Dota where you need to jump a target that's out of position because you do have a stun. However, like here in this game, I'm sure his main priority is something like the Coddle because he has no BKB and he can solo kill him. The only time you jump someone else is if he needs to help lifestealer. What I want to say about this Storm Spirit now as we start to move in to the later stages of the game, if you don't have a great start, right, he's obviously only 4-4, does have 13 assists, but not a ton of CS, at least relative to what he usually has. So sometimes it is much better to go for these defensive, fight distracting builds rather than like a Orchid Hex build, simply because his purpose in these fights is to drag them out and then kite the BKBs, right? He needs to wait them out and slowly chip people down and sustain the fights, right? If he doesn't do that, he's just gonna feed. Like with an Orchid, he'll just die to PA. So in this upcoming clip, I just want to demonstrate the danger of jumping on top of the initiated target and not looking for side targets. Here, he kind of gets baited because his Clockwork hits a 3-man combo, 3-man stun I should say, and as a result he jumps on top. But you have to be careful. If your team doesn't have follow-up stuns, it really doesn't mean that much. And as a result, he gets doomed and just dies. And his team, that had a 15k gold lead, manages to throw it away, right? You have to be very careful when playing Storm. You're not that tanky of a hero against things like PA Mag, simply because you don't have an innate ability that makes you tanky, right? Obviously, you have an innate ability that makes you like slippery, but not tanky. So I'm happy to announce that CCNC does not lose the game here. But let's see how he changes his game around and kind of like approaches it a little bit differently in order to pick up the victory for his team. Before we get into what he does to actually win this game, I want to talk about a very important mechanic of Dota that makes Storm Spirit a late game beast. And that mechanic is the 40-minute double rune. At 40 minutes, your hero becomes exponentially stronger. You have the potential to get DD regen or arcane DD, any combination of the three, of the either arcane, DD, or regeneration. So at the 40-minute mark, your hero becomes a lot stronger, so being able to stall out the game can really help you win. So in this upcoming clip, I know I went back a little bit, but what's important to note is that this Doom overextends, right? the Doom went on his CM and he sees the PA top, and as a result, he's able to jump him. These are the type of plays that you have to make in order to come back when behind. Sometimes you have to be a little bit risky and commit a large percentage of your mana pool, but most importantly, you have to be map aware. Storm Spirit is a hero that can be abused in solo queue if you have good map awareness, so you have to be paying attention to the positioning of all of the enemy heroes, not just whoever you can see in your plain sight. Okay, so in this upcoming clip, as you can tell, CCNC gets graved because of the replay bug. Thank you, replay system. But what's more important to note is to see how patient he is and how he reacts. He gets RP'd and nearly dies. Amazing grave by the Dazzle. Really an incredible play. And with his Bloodstone, just want to pause over here, clicks the Bloodstone, manages to get HP back, and then manages to pull the Magnus as well, right? When you're playing Storm Spirit or a hero like Ember Spirit, you need to really pay attention to what's going around you. And if you do, you can make the big plays of the game by not overreacting. The best Storm Spirit players will not overreact in situations of danger. They will assess it, and sometimes they will have to disengage quickly, right? You can't always just sit around and be like, what's the best thing going on here? But in a fight like that, right, he gets graved, he's stunned, and in that stun duration, he's thinking about, what do I need to do next? And when he processes that information, he's able to correctly decide to pull the Magnus. In this upcoming fight here, at this point he has Aegis, and whenever you have Aegis as Storm, you want to take a frontline role and force the enemy team to cast spells. And because of this, the PA jumps in, and actually even recommits, ends up dying back. So this is kind of the turn of the game, right? Because of his smart decision making and not overreacting, and a great play from his Dazzle, right? All props to this Dazzle. I don't know, if you watch this play, Dazzle, great job. But his ability to assess the situation and not overreact is what separates him from the majority of players. Most people would have just zipped all the way back to the base, like, see ya, and just go back to the next lane, and then they'll come back, the fight will be over, their team dies, and, the game's a lot different. That's why when people see pros do things and they make risky plays, they judge them, but in all reality, the reason they're so good is because they are willing to assess situations and make a play that isn't just the most defensive and obvious play. And as a result, I'm going to end the video there. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned about the new and improved Storm Spirit. I really think this hero has potential in this new patch. Definitely not a top tier mid, I think. However, we'll have to see what comes in the future. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, consider checking out gameleap.com, where you can learn about guides just like this one, and learn about maybe Storm Spirit. Maybe I'll have to make a full in-depth guide on Storm Spirit in the upcoming days if he does become popular again, and you'll be able to check that out on gameleap.com. Alright, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, lastly, please do like and subscribe to help our channel grow. Thank you.